Hello and welcome to the 21st Bo Cameronian Arts Awards on set. My name is Miriam, your host for the session, and joining me today is Foong, representing TaTaTa. Welcome, Foong. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
I'd like to maybe begin, if I could ask you to introduce yourself.
So my name is Foong. I am the multimedia designer for TaTaTa. I was trained in media arts. So basically it's kind of a course where they use art and technology. So that's what I was trained as. But it's just because I was interested in performing with technology, so gradually the skill set kind of translated into theater and multimedia and etc. They were looking for a sort of multimedia designer, but at the time there was just like kind of like a short brief lah. So basically what TaTaTa is kind of a exploration for basically inspired by the director's relationship with the grandmother. So trying to explore this intergenerational relationship essentially in the form of a dance theatre lah. And I think the director specifically, because the director is from Sri Kembangan or Taman Equine sort of, so the director wanted to host or have the performance in that space itself. And so they kind of found a sort of like Dewan Serbaguna kind of thing. So what happened initially was the conversation was just, okay, let's go to the site, and that's basically the sort of the background or the context of it lah. I think it's the most challenging part is because the space itself is not exactly theatre ready. So I think
it's a casual Dewan Serbaguna.
Exactly. So I think the initial conversation was just we just spent a lot of time there, and then she had like a brief or kind of like some notes and some images, and then we just kind of talk a lot in the space, and eventually one thing became the other. It's just a lot of conversations in the space lah, I think.
How did you, perhaps this leans into the process a little bit. How did you respond to this work? How did it influence the way you designed the multimedia for it?
I think for me it's like maybe coming from more of a technical or production background, usually what I try to, my concern is always that the technical part of it, due to the technical complexity, it kind of overshadows the creative decisions that you need to take. Then it becomes a lot of like problem solving. So initially what I would like to do usually is I like to set some technical expectations in my brain in terms of like, are we using projectors? How many are they? How the cables is that? So usually the beginning I kind of have, and looking at the space, I have an idea of how projections will work or not work in the space. But because the space was so big, initially we were very skeptical about the execution of it lah. I think for the first half of the production, I was not convinced that we can make a good projection work lah, because the walls were also dark and we have not enough brightness, etc. But I think later on we realized that might be the most efficient to use projectors. It's just that we need to be selective of what we're projecting, because not all colors will show very obviously in that kind of space and background.
Is there a moment during the creative process that, besides the technical aspects, that maybe challenged you a lot?
I think this is a very new team. I mean, for me, like working with this, I've never worked with anybody there before. And this topic is kind of intimate to the director, so it's very personal. And usually the themes or the kind of aesthetic or style that I'm usually work on can be a bit more like technology oriented, a bit cold. So the challenge was aesthetically it was to kind of fit into, not say fit lah, but try to find some sort of dialogue between the director's vision and also what I can provide. And we went through a lot of iterations, because initially there was a lot of discussions on like how to integrate with the set, and then maybe you wanted some fabric, some flying fabric or something. And then, but later on, after reduction, we just came back to what was comfortable, which also was, I think, what was most effective for that production.
Yeah.
So eventually we decided to go with three sort of like a immersive projection, I guess. So the director had a designer, which is her name is called Yijin, to design sort of the motif of the performance. So she had some elements like the clock, some Chinese text. Then I thought maybe it would be helpful to just reappropriate those things. I think I'm very proud of myself for giving space for the directors and the other performers, because that's not usually something that I'm good at. Because usually I come in and usually usually my collaborators work because our aesthetics match, and we already have kind of like this overarching understanding of what we do. I think working with this kind of team, I think providing that space, especially such an intimate topic. So I think I was very proud to provide that kind of space and support for the team and also the director.
Zooming out a little bit, as perhaps you as a designer, what are the kind of responsibilities that you carry when you approach production? I'm not just talking about, my responsibility is to design this and then, take care of the technical stuff.
Okay.
But perhaps for a more personal thing, what are the things you carry to bring to each production?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I never thought about it that way before, because I always, when you usually talk about responsibilities, I'm always very pragmatic in terms of I need to set this projector up, I need to figure this out. But from that perspective, I would say that I think in the end, everybody is trying, like every one of the team members or every role, we are trying to construct this, in my head, I call it scene, this sort of scene that will be presented to the audience. And a lot of the times, that scene itself should have a factual quality, I guess, that like it should work from from a compositional standpoint and from a subject matter standpoint, it should work as it is lah. And I maybe that might be too abstract, but what I mean is just that all of us are trying to contribute to that one scene, and usually my responsibility is trying to see how much I can add or how much I can subtract. Because I find myself a lot of the times, especially with theatre, kind of subtracting, because there's already so many things going on stage. So the sort of discipline to just like, okay, maybe not too much. That's usually how I find myself, usually when working with theatres. But sometimes I also like want to play, right? So I'll just like go all out on it, and sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, but in the right context, it might work. So it's always like this sort of interplay with the general scene and how many elements in there and stuff. From a compositional standpoint, I guess.
Do you see yourself as a storyteller of sorts?
I never thought about it that way, but perhaps maybe I'm contributing to the storytelling process. In some way, yes, but it's more of like creating a scene or a mood. That might. So it's not so like directly in terms of like in telling a story. It's more of like you create a certain situation that allows multiple forms of, they can interpret. I think that space to interpret is important. So I think for me it's storytelling in that way.
In that way. Which is, I mean, to me personally, I think it's very important, and I think everybody who's involved in a production, as you said, contributes to this larger story that we're trying to get and connect audiences with. So thank you for being very honest with that and sharing that. Now you have been nominated for Best Multimedia Design for this piece, and as you mentioned earlier, this collaboration is new. Like, you've not collaborated with them before. What is something that has perhaps through this experience helped you grow, or how has your practice evolved based on this experience?
I just want to give a shout out to the team members like Zihai, Wei Yin, and everyone. And I'm sorry I missed out Audrey. And, but I think because at the end of the day, everybody is quite strong lah, and quite experienced, and everybody, it's a group effort, contributing to the final sort of performance. Having that openness or that discipline to kind of because I can be very efficient in terms of decision, not efficient in terms of production wise, but sometimes it's just allowing for that kind of space to ponder on decisions or to think about decisions. Quite new to me lah. It's a lot of just conversations, I think, which is not something I'm used to, I think, but I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it does. Yes. It's always, I mean, we see collaborators having built friendships over many years, and there's a lot of trust and understanding. But then we also see opportunities where people come together, and how does that, evolve and grow and change in terms of practice. So you perfectly answered that very well. Just to kind of draw the conversation in, as someone who's been in the industry, I believe since 2017, you've been designing multimedia since then actively,
On and off.
So what are you perhaps looking forward to the most in terms of the growth of industry, using in terms of like multimedia design, technological improvements?
Because I'm always interested in technology, so I always feel like there is a bit of a disconnect in how technology works with maybe more traditional or more conventional forms of art.
Yes.
And I think right now what we are doing is that we are not say playing a supporting role, but it's kind of like we are trying to supplement the format of whatever is the convention is, or the current way of working is. But I'm looking forward where one day the technology can be more integrated in more radically, or even more in terms of like thematically or even conceptual wise, where it can be a bit more experimental and much more, I would say, like much more enmeshed with the
process of creating.
Correct. With the process of creating. I think that's something I'm looking forward to.
Well, thank you so much for joining me in conversation. It's been a pleasure getting to speak to you and getting to know you.
It's a pleasure.
And congratulations once again for your nomination.
Thank you.
And to our audiences, thank you so much for listening. And we'll catch you in the next session. Thank you.